Hi, my name is Matt Stewart and I'm CEO of CollegeWorks Painting. Today I'm here to talk about stress management, which is one of the many things that people in college need to overcome to be successful in life. For the last 20 years, I've worked with college students that just wanted to get ahead. At the same time, I work with thousands of entrepreneurs around the world looking for the same thing, to get ahead. And stress management is actually one of the things that everybody needs to learn how to do to be able to maintain an even keel and be productive when they're under the gun. Before we begin my discussion, I'd like to just run you through a little exercise. Take a sheet of paper, and on the left-hand side, at the very top, write 100, and then go down in increments of 10 until you get to 0. What I'd like you to do is think about all the things that stress you out in life and start writing them next to the corresponding number, the rank of how stressful they are, not just now, but how stressful they will be in terms of all the things in your life you'll ever encounter. So as you're writing, think about finals. Where do those appear on the list? Think about midterms. Think about papers. Think about that fraternity or sorority party. Think about the family wedding you have to go to. Think about paying for school. Think about all the things in your life that stress you out and rank them from 0 to 100. Picking a major, picking a career, getting a bad grade. Where do those fall from 0 to 100? And rank them. Now, you may want to pause the video because I'm going to move on and show you some of the things I've heard in the past. Here's a sample of the different things that people have told me in the past that stress them out and where they rank in terms of 0 to 100. The first one on the list, 95, my mom had a car accident today. Well, that's pretty stressful. Then you'll see I failed a test, or I got a horrible grade and it's on my transcript, or my sister's getting married and I'm totally not prepared. Those all ranked at the 90th level for people I've talked to in the past. No money for books, no money for rent, no money for college, my car broke down, midterms are coming, finals are coming, I can't do school and work at the same time. I've got this social life that's really harming me. The pledging is really, really disruptive to my studies. All the way down to I'm laying in a meadow of flowers smiling at the clouds. So think about your numbers again. As you look at this sample, think about, would you change the rank on any of these? Would you add something that someone else didn't put in there? And now, let me tell you a little story. When my son was a year and a half, my wife and I took him to Italy for a family vacation. And my son had asthma. We knew he had asthma. We took him to Italy and we managed his asthma with various different medicines. What we didn't know is that our son was allergic to the mold and mildew in the catacombs of the various cathedrals that we visited. So we went to the town of Assisi in central Italy and went to the St. Francis Cathedral in Assisi. St. Francis was the patron saint of Assisi, and they have a big cathedral dedicated to him at the top of this hill where the town of Assisi is. And one of the cool things about Italy is you can still see the history in the architecture. So imagine fields for as far as your eyes could see where the farmers used to grow the food, and then this rock coming out of those fields with the city perched on top with the walls all around the city, and that's Assisi. And everybody loves to go see this ancient city in Rome, which is a walking-only city. That part will come into the story later. So you go up to the top of the hill, and you enter the walking-only portion of the city, and you walk through the city, and you check out the restaurants and shops, and you end at the other side of the city at St. Francis's Cathedral, where my wife, my son, and I took a tour. Now, I got to explain how we took our tour. My son was in this backpack. You know those fully dork parent backpacks you've seen before where the dad's wearing his white tennis shoes and his white socks and he's got the kid all dorked out in the backpack? Well, that was me. And I'm walking through this cathedral, checking out all the different aspects of the cathedral. My wife and I decided, why don't we go down to the catacombs and see what that looks like? And that's where they keep the crypts, and all the historical figures for the town are buried in those catacombs. So we're walking through the catacombs and checking it out, and I hear this from behind me in the dork backpack. And I thought, oh no, is Jake having an asthma attack? And I could hear it, but I couldn't quite see it. So we walked out of the cathedral. There's a beautiful lawn in front of the cathedral. I took the dork backpack off, pulled up my white socks, and put Jake down on the ground in front of me, and I looked at him. And you could see his veins and the ligaments and every aspect of his rib cage as he sat there trying to breathe in front of me and his mother. And you can imagine how stressed out we were at this experience. And you can imagine how much greater the stress felt as we realized we don't speak Italian, we don't know where the hospital is, we're on the top of a hill in a walking-only town. Luckily, there's taxis that come up to the cathedral, and we found a taxi. By this time, my son is basically limp in my arms, and I run over to the taxi and I say, what do I say? I don't speak Italian. So I point at him and I say, hospital, and he says, get in the back. So my wife and I took our limp son and jumped in the back of the taxi, and he took off speeding through the walking streets. So he's going like 90 miles an hour. People are diving out of the way like in the movies. We're inside the cab crying our eyes out as we're watching our son breathe his last breaths. His skin turned gray, his lips turned purple, he's unconscious, and we pull up to this drawbridge type thing. Get out of the cab, start running across the bridge. Hospital staff's running from the other side. We'd made it to the hospital. They grab my son out of my arms, run into the hospital through these double doors, and vanish. And my wife and I sit there waiting, luckily for only a few minutes, because soon thereafter, Jake came out with the nurse. They injected him with steroids. They put the gas mask on his face. They did what they needed to do to save the day. But moments before, my son had literally died in my arms. So think about that story for a second, and think about why I might have told that story today. And now look back at your list. The first lesson in stress management is perspective. Most of the things that are stressing you out really shouldn't be stressing you out. Because I said this in the beginning, think about all the items in your future, all the things that will ever stress you out. My son died in my arms. My wife and I have had arguments where I thought I was getting a divorce. I've been nearly bankrupt. Where would those rank on your list of things that stress you out? So lesson one is put things into perspective. Lesson two is let's see how we can deal with some of these things that stress us out. First of all, your mom's in a car accident. Your son's dying in your arms. Those are real stressful occurrences that happen to people. And it might happen to nearly everybody watching this video. You might get a divorce. Your parents might get a divorce. Someone close to you may pass away. You may find out that you have cancer. People around you may go bankrupt. You may go bankrupt. There's things that are really, really anxiety creating that you're going to encounter later. And if you're freaking out about failing a test or rent at the level that you would be freaking out about that, you're spending a lot of energy and not putting things into perspective. So if you go down this list, real stress, I'm not going to deal with real stress. If you have a lot of real stress in your life, I will say that a therapist might be a good call to help you get through that. And there might be some real issues that you're facing, and I don't want to downplay that, so I'm not even going to talk about the really stressful occurrences that some college students come across. But let's talk about failing a test, a very bad grade on a transcript, or your sister's wedding. That can all be solved by either time management or perspective. Time management allows you to study enough for your test, prepare for your sister's wedding, and prevent bad grades. I'm not going to talk about time management today because that's another video. But I am going to talk about perspective. No money for rent or your car broke down. Those are big deals. But if you put it into perspective and ask yourself, is it life or death situation? Probably not. Take a deep breath and look at your perspective. Midterms coming, hard time managing work and school. Those are pretty much time management issues, maybe a little perspective. The fraternity party on Saturday that you're not ready for, or your friend broke up with their boyfriend, that's probably a perspective issue. And lying in a meadow of flowers was ranked as a 10, not a 0. That's a big perspective issue. So let's talk about solutions and how you can handle stress, because I know you're encountering stress, And I know you're going to encounter things in your future that are even more stressful. If you can learn to handle the stress you have now, it's almost like you're being vaccinated for future stress. So by the time I had this issue with my son in my arms, I knew I can't freak out. I can't panic. I can't shut down. I need to stay calm and act. And I did, and it saved my son's life. So let's talk about what the solutions could be for you. So let's talk about perspective. First of all, my doctor told me this once. I will pass it on to you. Stress is the arrows coming at you. You can't control the arrows coming at you. You can only control how you deal with them. Anxiety is what gets through. If you're the type of person that's really good at brushing away the arrows and you never get anxious, congratulations. If you look at yourself and you feel, I'm really bad and I get anxious about everything, again, I've been to a therapist. Therapists help. There's medicine that will help. If you feel you have a real problem, maybe you go that way. But if it's more just the normal college student stuff, here's the process that I would use. First of all, sounds cliche, take a deep breath. There's science that proves taking a deep breath actually helps. It brings oxygen into your body that can then fuel your brain and allow you to think better. Second of all, ask yourself some questions. Like I said before, is this a life or death situation, or should I just take a deep breath and calm down? How big of a deal is this? And even if it is a big deal, taking a deep breath and calming down will really help you deal with it. Second question, is this serious now, but in the big scheme of life, not that serious? Basically the same question again, take a deep breath. And if it's not really that serious, if it's not as big of a deal as you're making it out to be, it's important to focus on the solutions and convince yourself that you have a solution. I did poorly on this test. I'm going to retake the test or the class, and I have a new study program to make sure that I won't fail the test again. I wasn't prepared for the fraternity party. I'm implementing a new time management program, so next time I will be prepared for the party. If there's anything that you can learn from your experiences of the past, if you can look back and say, hey, I didn't handle that well, and you can start to even write down how you're going to handle things in the future, at least contemplate, what did I do wrong? What could I do differently? Your mind will remember, and you'll start to come up with the solutions earlier. So if we go back to the beginning of this, there are things that are really stressful in your lives. And you're going to have to deal with some bad stuff. The better you get at taking a deep breath, looking for the solutions, and looking for the lessons, the less anxious you will begin to feel. Most of the things that are stressing you out can be solved by time management and just getting better at it. And we have a video coming out on time management. Other things can be taken care of by just putting it into perspective and calming down. I hope this was helpful today. I look forward to seeing you on another video. Thank you very much and have a great day.